Hi, my name's Ginger Cook, and if you are watching this video, this is a video of our materials list for our online Academy of Fine Art and Acrylic Paintings on gingercooklive.gallery. And what we have found is that we only need a few colors to create literally dozens of paintings. In fact, we have over 275 video lessons step by step in our library that are using just 12 colors for the most part. So a few bonus colors, we're going to go over those today. And the reason we're doing a video about it is because I really think a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I think that if you have a visual of what we're using, it'll make it much easier when you go out and take a shopping list or check what you have at home and see what you maybe need to add to your own art supplies to be the most successful with your artwork, which is what we want for you. So if you'll look down on my table, you'll notice there's an array of art supplies that we have here, from brushes to paints to even a little Mr. Water bottle, a fine Mr. Water bottle. We have 12 main colors that we use, all right? We have 2 different whites, and we're using professional body, heavy body acrylic paints. Now, there's several brands that, make a professional paint, depending on where you live in the world. I don't know if you can find all of these, but Matisse is generally made in Australia. They sell this at Jerry's Artorama in the United States. And they'll probably in a few more places in the months to come. But basically, its structure, it's a heavy body paint, and I suggest that you get a large tube of white, okay? Professional paints are wonderful because they cover easily and the colors are brighter and they have more pigment in them. And even though a lot of artists, will start off with a lesser expensive brand of paint thinking, well, I'm just starting, I'll just see how it goes. It doesn't go well, and then you think the fault's yours because you'll use twice as much paint. You really don't save any money buying a cheaper brand of paint. You don't, because you use so much more paint to cover anything. So if you already have some basic paints, for instance, like Liquitex makes a professional heavy body paint, but they also sell a student grade paint. Now, it's just fine for kids or something like that, but as an adult and as an adult new painter, we want you to be successful. So I would strongly suggest that as you start to replace your student grade paints, you replace them, and you're replacing colors, replace them with professional acrylics. Start with your whites first, maybe then go to your reds and your yellows. And as you can afford it, change over. Because honestly, we see this time and time again from students that write us and say, you're right, I didn't save any money with the cheaper paints. It just made me crazy and frustrated because my picture never was bright and it's colorful as yours. Now, we use 2 different blues in our paintings for the most part. These are the 2 blues we use. In Matisse brand, you just buy these colors, Ultramarine Blue and Phthalo Blue, all right? But if you were buying this in Liquitex, you would buy the Ultramarine Blue red shade and the Phthalo Blue green shade, all right? If it was a Liquitex heavy body, they do that a little differently. I'll explain that to you in a minute. Dazzling purple, this is a wonderful color. We use this a lot. Now you have 2 colors. Now, if you're buying a different brand than Matisse, basically Napthol Crimson is your main red on the color wheel right here. And you also want to make sure you have a color wheel with a grayscale. That's something you want to buy. But so that somebody else may call it slightly something different, but it's your primary red, all right? And then we have something called Cad Red Medium, all right? And Cadmium Red Medium is a bright orange color, and this will really make your pictures pop. You'll notice that, for instance, up here, this little painting of the watering can in these bright orange colors, that was done with Cad Red Medium, all right? And you'll see that me use this a lot, and also you can do a lot of wonderful grays, mixing Cad Red Medium with Ultramarine Blue and a little white. We mix all kinds of colors. Now, your yellow is Cadmium Medium Yellow. And if you could also buy that in hue. Hue is, is a very bright color, but it should say Cadmium Yellow Medium on it. All right, whether it's a hue or not, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. And that again is your primary yellow. And then I suggest that you get something called yellow oxide. In some cases, it's called yellow ochre. It's a gold color. It's a marvelous color to have. In most of our paintings. For instance, let me see if I can show you an example. In this painting right here, you'll see a combination of yellow oxide and Cad Yellow Medium in this painting, all right? And now notice here that there's the Ultramarine Blue up here, and you see this bright turquoise down here? That's made using Phthalo Blue. So you couldn't get, if you just owned Ultramarine Blue, you'd never get this bright turquoise color, okay? And then we show you in our videos how to mix things, all right? Now I'm going to put this color wheel out of the way, and let's start a little bit about, let's talk about transparent mixing white, or in some cases, for instance, if you were buying Golden Professional acrylics, which is another really good brand, it might be called zinc white, Z-I-N-C. This is your transparent white. It's a must-have color, and the reason we do that is we use this for landscapes to, for atmospheric perspective. We also use it in clouds and so forth, and this is a terrific color, and I'm going to highly suggest you get this. All right, coming along to our browns, we have something called burnt sienna. That's a reddish brown color. Really nice. You might see some of that in this picture right here. There's a little burnt sienna. And then burnt umber is our staple. This is another one I would consider getting a large tube of. I have just a small one here, but if you could, get a large tube of burnt umber, we use this all the time to mix all our colors, and this is often used as a background color. Now, there are some bonus colors that you may want. For instance, if you're doing a lot of flowers, for instance, you may want a color called magenta, and I think I had some out here somewhere. I don't see it right this minute, but I'll find it in a second. You want magenta, and another color that is really, really nice to have is Australian sienna. This is sort of a gold color. Australian sienna is a transparent gold color. Again, it's just made by Matisse. This is like a bonus color if you just felt like, buying a few colors. It's really a wonderful color. Be very pretty in a sunset like this. Raw umber is a nice color if you're trying to, it's a very transparent color. It's similar to burnt umber, all right? Now, that's, again, what we call a bonus color. It's really just sort of something that you could add to your collection as time goes on. Raw siennas are sort of a combination of, yellow oxide and burnt sienna. It's kind of a handy color to have. I don't really specifically say to use that in the videos, but it's a nice color. It's a good bonus color. Here's your magenta color, and you'll notice that I have a big tube of that because that's the color that's in these bright. You can't really mix that. These bright sort of pink violet, okay? And the reason I have paint all over the tubes is I always tell you to put a little paint on the outside of your tube so when it's upside down, you can tell what colors you have. Someone will say, well, what is the difference between Matisse and Liquitex? I would say that they're very comparable, and it's just whatever you can find. But if you have any kind of arthritis or anything where your hands have a problem, unscrewing or screwing on caps, Liquitex, their advantage is that they have self-cleaning caps. They every time you screw the cap on, it cleans it. It's a very nice, it's very easy on, easy off caps. Let's see, another bonus color that we particularly for our Wave and Water Masterclass, this is called Southern Ocean Blue. It's made by Matisse. It's sort of unique to them. And, if you wanted to buy it, you could. Otherwise, I can show you how to mix it using a phthalo green. All right, that's called phthalo green, and we'll show you how to mix those colors. And another bonus color would be cadmium yellow light. You can't add white to cadmium yellow medium and get this color. So if you're doing a lot of flowers, like flower paintings, you need to light highlight, this is a good color to have. But honestly, to start out, you can stick with our basic 12. You notice there's no greens in any of this. We show you how to mix all the greens. All the greens you see in here and here and here, they're all mixed with those two blues. And all the different blues that you see in these pictures are mixed with these blues, either combining them, adding white, and so forth. Now the brushes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the brushes. We have a brand called Ruby Satin Silver brushes. I really like them. These are my 3 favorite of the small brushes. And I was recently, in some of our earlier videos, you won't see me using these, but I would tell you to use them now, because I only was aware of these for about a year ago, these angle ones. Other than that, we use something called a bright brush, which is more squared off. But I've discovered these 1/2 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/4 inch angle brushes are the bomb. They're just the best. And then if you also want some small pointed detail brush, this is a 000 brush, and I would highly recommend one that's just tiny and small for details. All right. Now the 2 main larger brushes we use are the number 12 Ruby Satin Silver Brights and the number 8. Okay, those are our two main ones, and those are for our big background colors. We start off on our videos using small acrylic pads. This was from Jerry's. This is called a Paramount. It's real canvas. It's not canvas, waxed, some sort of canvas plastic stuff. This is real canvas in sheets. It's been gessoed. It can be sanded. It's very nice. And speaking of sanding, have some light sandpaper, like very nice, very light, fine sandpaper. On some of our bigger recent pictures in the last year or so, we've been adding some larger canvas sizes for our members, 8 by 10, 9 by 12, and sanding your canvas is a good idea. So this is stretch canvas, okay, like that. Another kind of wonderful thing to have are triangles. The fairly large ones, you might want to get one about half this size too, something you can see through. This will help you with your straight lines. And you draw those using you draw in your pictures, either using some light chalk like this. Is their new pastels, kind of a light color, maybe a light gray, kind of a off-white color. These are very good to be able to sketch on your pictures when you're painting. Another really nice one that can sharpen if you need more fine lines. This is a Conte pastel white pencil. It's really chalk in a pencil. Somebody said, can you use some watercolor pencils? Yeah, you can too, sure. And so, but we don't use pencils because pencils are very hard to paint over. You don't want just a lead pencil. That's not going to work for you. Another final brush I'm going to say is that look for a fairly stiff bristle, a round brush. I don't necessarily think you have to have a particular brand. You don't want it soft, but this is a great one for clouds. And then I would tell you that a very soft varnish brush. This is by Jerry's. And people say, well, what kind of varnish brush? You just want something soft, but not something so cheap that the hairs are going to fall out on your picture. And then the question goes, well, why can't I use one of these? You can, but the problem with varnish is you never quite get it out of your brush. As hard as you try to wash it, and eventually it will ruin it. So I don't use my good brushes, which I really treasure. I don't use those for varnish, all right? Now, what kind of varnish would one use? Well, here's a Liquitex Gloss Medium in Varnish. This is the one I've been using for over 40 years. I like this. We have videos on our website and also on YouTube on how to use this varnish. And these varnish brings your color out. Okay, so if I've owned all this paint, then what am I painting on? Well, in some of our smaller videos on our website, you see we just use a paper plate because you can just throw these away. They're very inexpensive, and you just put it around the outside and mix. And really, for a small painting, and the reason we have you do small paintings is so that you don't waste a lot of paint figuring out how to do this stuff. But any of these, this particular painting is gorgeous, 16 by 20. But start out with the small stuff, and then to facilitate, to help you understand what it is that you're painting, you'll usually see, this is a list of the colors, and I have, I think there's three sets to a sheet, and I peel these off and put them on my plate like this. For instance, I'll just take it and I'll put it around the plate, all right, like that, so that when I'm painting, I know what I've got. Now, if you like these, these are Avery 8167 labels. They're like return address labels, and you can write us, and we will send you a copy of our template that you can use to be able to print out your own labels. And this will save you hours of confusion. I mean, because once you start mixing all the colors, sometimes it's a little hard to decide where everything is. Now, on my bigger paintings, I often use, you'll see a gray wax paper tablet. This particular one is by Soho. That's something that, that's a brand of Jerry's. But, any good wax paper for acrylics, don't get the one for oil, because sometimes it's in the beginning, if you don't read the fine print, make sure it says acrylics. If it doesn't say acrylic, it's not going to be well. And this is a wax canvas. You just throw these away, disposable palette, all right? I love these, and you'll see me use that. Okay, so you've got all that stuff. Make sure you have a ruler. That's really important. And I would buy something called artist tape, maybe 1/4 inch artist tape, very handy for, to help to get straight lines. Maybe you might need a little help with this one right here. That will help you. And then, okay, so All right, so you're talking about drawing stuff on the canvas, and you're going, I don't draw yet. Now what? Well, most of our videos, and particularly our new ones, we show you, our brother for our new artists, we show you how to trace or to transfer on your artwork to canvas like 3 ways, either to do a grid or to actually trace it on. Now, one thing you can use this chalk for is you can chalk the back of an image, like a photograph, and then that you printed out on paper and then trace it on. We show you how to do that. And also something you can own, which is very handy, is called Sorel transfer paper. And this is we found this on Amazon. We have links to these products on our website, and you can go you'll be able to find these. But this is, there's 5 different colors in here. So depending on how dark a thing you're transferring, like there's dark blue, there's white, there's gray, there's yellow, and there's red. And you can use this over and over and over again, probably for the rest of your life, and keep using this stuff. And then the other thing I would suggest is some tracing paper. Sometimes it's nice to trace the image from the photograph onto tracing paper, then use the transfer paper to figure out where your placement of it is. So that's just a nice thing to have. You don't see me use it that often, but just for you, that's something you might want. Our palette knives are pretty simple. Let me just reach over and grab those. This is it's less important about the actual brand, but a palette knife that's shaped like this. I like the ones from Jerry's, and the reason I like them is because, let's see, this one, let me put my glasses on, is an S61, and by Creative Mark, I like them because you can leave them in water and they don't rust. Some of my other palette knives I bought in the past have rusted, and here's a couple of small shapes. So a few little palette knives, those are very nice to have. We do often do palette knife paintings. Please, no plastic knives. They're junk. You can't paint with them. They're art for mixing, maybe to get something out of a jar. Sometimes you'll see paint, real value if you buy paint in a jar. That's what I'd use the plastic palette knives for, and I wouldn't even buy those. I'd just use a plastic spoon. Okay, so you're going to need all that stuff. Make sure you have a fabric rag. Everybody said like an old towel, okay? Not like t-shirt material, but the towels are very absorbent. Someone says, what about paper towels? Well, it's nice to have a paper towel under your water or something, but you can wash these, use them over and over again. So I really recommend, an old towel. You're going to want a hair dryer and plug near your easel so that you can easily dry your stuff. I went over to a student's house, been taking lessons from me for a couple of years, and I went over to his house for a private lesson. And I said, where's your hair dryer? He says, oh, it's in the closet. Why isn't that out by your easel? No wonder you're having problems. You got to dry as you go, you guys. So make that easy for yourself. And if you're wondering how we got this nifty one with a Van Gogh's Starry Night on it, I have a video on how to paint your hair dryer to look like that. Okay, so let's see. Our last thing I want to mention is this is a handy thing to have. This is what we call a paint roller. And this saves paint. You just kind of put your paint in it like that and roll it up, and so that you get the very most out of it. And I recommend the ones that are plastic with a metal part. Not all plastic I've never been happy with, and all metal I never have been happy with. And so those are just things that you might want to have. I think you have these colors, I think you're going to have a great start to painting and be very successful. And remember, with GingerCookLive.gallery, one of your benefits is personal art coaching, and I really welcome you to the world of acrylic paint, and I hope this was helpful.